The moderate Conservative EPP are set to win the EU elections, while the far-right and ultra-Conservatives are set to see a dramatic increase in their numbers. However, according to the latest Euronews super poll, in Germany, the moderate Christian Democrats will prevail over strong far-right party, the AfD. For the EU's far-right parties, votes for the AfD could stall their efforts to join forces. Recent scandals have been damaging for the AfD's reputation inside and outside of Germany. Spying scandals and recent sympathetic comments made about the SS by AfD European candidate Maximilian Krah has affected the party's growth. The Social Democrats, SPD, could seize second place, while the centrist CDU, CSU are maintaining a stable first place.
We might see a greater impact when people go to vote in about a week or so in Germany, that the SS scandal might actually have a greater impact because of the fact that it's going to keep them out of the identity democracy group in European Parliament. So just the reverberations of that scandal is going to have a greater effect on just how everything is going to play out in the long term.
In France, where a landslide victory for Jordan Bardella from Marine Le Pen's National Rally is almost a foregone conclusion, the fight for second place is between two staunchly pro-EU candidates, Renew's Valérie Hayer and Socialist Party Raphael Glucksmann. If Hayer loses to Glucksmann's revitalised Socialist Party, it could be the sign of clear defeat for President Macron. Neither Renew nor the Socialists can catch up with the National Rally. Our Euronews poll suggests they may even struggle to keep second place. Italy is also an important piece of the puzzle for the EU's far-right camp. Post-fascist Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni steadily occupies first place. The Social Democrats of the Partito Democratico have outpaced Matteo Salvini's Lega allies of Meloni. In Italy, like in France, Elie Schleien's Partito Democratico has unexpectedly built up a strong electoral campaign by gathering undecided votes. The Spanish socialists are among the few centre-left EU forces that are resisting pressure from the Conservatives. The PSOE comes in second, but the gap between them and the moderate Conservatives of the Partito Popular is shrinking. Ultranationalists Vox have slightly slowed in their progress. Whatever the new parliament may look like, rifts in the far-right wing may make it difficult to unanimously approve a new EU Commission president with a clear majority.
The rising cost of living is going to be one of the big issues people care about when they go to the ballot in June. We did a poll of people across Europe and 2/3 of them said that tackling rising prices needs to be a priority for the EU. You've got energy prices rising by 40%. 1 in 3 Europeans have said they wouldn't be able to pay for an unexpected bill. They're really feeling the pinch. So when the EU thinks about its energy policy, its climate change policy, they're really going to have to think about how that's going to impact on people's pockets.
Migration has been a massive topic for the past decade, ever since the Lampedusa tragedy of 2013. Now, we finally do have a migration pact. It took years to get to this starting point. It's perfectly imperfect. Nobody likes it. For the left, it's too right. For the right, it's too left. But it's a starting point. And of course, the next mandate will be very much occupied by looking into how member states transpose that into law and how it works then on the ground. We need migration. We need managed migration. Europe is getting very old, very fast. And many would point out to the Ukrainian case that we can very much manage asylum seekers, those who are in need of protection.
Yep.
Well, defence will be certainly one of those issues that will be front and centre of the mandate of the next Commission and the next European Parliament, not least because of the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. There's a realisation this war will continue for the foreseeable future because for the last few months Ukraine has been on the back foot militarily, and of course for the first time in many years there is a war on the European continent. But there's also an acknowledgement that Ukraine may not be the only conflict the world will be facing in the coming years, and the EU and Europe feels it needs to stand on its own 2 feet when it comes to its defence and security, and not always rely on the United States.
They've set a target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by the end of this decade, which basically means it's got to be done during the mandate of the incoming Commission and Parliament. It's an enormous task, and it's going to be made even bigger when they adopt a new climate target. Going into the election, we have right-wing parties who are basically going on a platform of supporting the farmers, putting a halt to all this Green Deal. So, yes, the momentum is definitely there. Whether it continues after the election is another question.
Just a few days before the European election, farmer protests caused yet again traffic chaos in the continent. In a coordinated effort, around 100 tractors have been blocking the border between Spain and France. They obstructed 7 main crossing points stretching from the Basque region to Catalonia. Authorities have announced major disruptions and encouraged drivers to postpone their trip or to use another means of transport. Protests have been rocking Europe for months. Farmers are rallying against the rising cost of energy, as well as calling for greater food safety for products entering Europe. They also asked EU lawmakers to implement a European law favoring local products.
Police in Dublin cleared tents from the city centre last month. Asylum seekers, with nowhere else to go, had pitched up outside the International Protection Office. Similar scenes have played out around Dublin's Grand Canal. Ireland has also been plagued for years with housing shortages and an understaffed healthcare system.
There is maybe what you might call a perfect storm. There's a shortage of housing in the state, and there is significant immigration, which are now sort of colliding, and the government is scrambling to deal with that.
Ireland is lacking up to 256,000 homes. According to the most recent figures from the Central Statistics Office, nearly 14,000 adults and children were in homeless accommodation in Ireland this March. That's a yearly jump of 16%. In this climate, some question whether the country is well placed to welcome migrants.
It's a kind of a complicated issue of why you can't build more houses. A few issues are A, planning, B, the price of land. There would be two of the big issues, and C, labor, again, the price of labor, So there are people who have been on waiting lists for sort of council houses or state houses for up to a decade. And what they're seeing then is these tales, sometimes apocryphal, mostly apocryphal, I think, of refugees being granted housing before them. So that certainly is fueling a far-right element.
Unlike France's Le Pen or Italy's Meloni, Ireland has yet to see the rise of an influential anti-immigrant politician. The upcoming EU and local elections will test public sentiment.
The death of a police officer at the hand of a migrant is creating political tensions in Germany, just ahead of a crucial European election. Far-right activists from the AfD youth movement took to the streets in Mannheim, where the attack occurred, demanding strict asylum and migration policies.
Menschen, die hierher kommen und unsere Gastfreundschaft nicht wertschätzen, die müssen eben wieder gehen. Und auch darüber müssen wir uns endlich unterhalten.
The rally was classified as extremist by the local authorities. From the other side of the political spectrum, left-wing activists held a vigil against hate and violence, denouncing the far-right narrative.
Sowas auszunutzen politisch kurz vor den Wahlen ist einfach undemokratisch und unbotmäßig, und deswegen sind wir auch heute hier.
Left-wing and right-wing activists later came into contact and had to be separated by the police.
El pueblo de México lo ha hecho posible.
Claudia Sheinbuam will make history by becoming the first ever female president in Mexico's 200-year history. She won a landslide victory in Sunday's election, securing more than 59% of the vote. The 61-year-old Nobel Prize-winning climate scientist was the favored successor of outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
Este 2 de junio, nuevamente hicimos historia. ¡Viva la Cuarta Transformación! ¡Viva el presidente López Obrador! ¡Viva México! ¡Viva México! ¡Viva México!
Sheinbaum's Morena party was also projected to hold its majorities in both chambers of Congress. Her victory comes after an historic election day that saw significant numbers turn out to vote both in Mexico and abroad. More than 180,000 Mexicans voted at consulates and embassies around the world, including 60,000 who live in Madrid, where they queued for up to 9 hours to cast their vote. Sheinbaum has vowed to continue the policies of her predecessor.
La nueva presidenta de la República se enfrentará en este sexenio a importantes retos y desafíos como principalmente disminuir la inseguridad en el país o también la otra gran cuestión a la que tendrá que hacer frente, reducir la desigualdad. En México, Roberto Macedonio, Euronews.